Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and in for repair this week is one of my own guitars, the 77 Exrubato. This guitar stayed behind in its case when we were forced to evacuate for the Hurricane Ian. The power went out, which meant that there was going to be no AC to keep this thing down. It was 105 degrees at certain points in this house, and not to mention that the humidity levels due to all of the excess rain and water in this room did not help the cause in that sense either. But I was fortunate enough to have a very amazing technician that I was able to phone up. I'll be giving you the details of how I got this guitar back into playing condition, but first, in customary tradition here, I'm gonna be playing this guitar because why the hell not? I just worked to get this thing up and going again. We're gonna play it. We're gonna be going through the Tone King. We're gonna be using the Benson preamp for a little bit of drive, and also the Strymon Volante for just a splash of reverb. So let's get to that first. Now these 77 Exrubato guitars are fantastic. If you ever have the opportunity to give one of these a try, I definitely recommend that you do, but know that they are not all made in Japan. This is one of these models that is not a Japanese made instrument. This is a JT model, meaning this was made overseas somewhere, I think the Philippines actually, and then sent to Japan to have the actual luthiers there in the Asuka factory go over the nut, file it perfectly, do the fretwork on it so the guitar would have ideal playing conditions whenever you were to get it, as well as stability, because filing the nut properly is a big deal when it comes to that kind of thing, especially on a Gibson styled instrument. And yeah, got it playing absolutely amazing. This guitar is a real steal. If you're able to find one of these, I would highly recommend it, and even more so if you're somebody who sees a Japanese version, whether it's a standard or a custom. Their customs kind of look like 355s by comparison with the block inlays on them. I would recommend checking one of those out and seriously considering it if you like it, because I have heard rumors that they are no longer going to be making those guitars in Japan. Whether that ends up being true or not, we'll have to wait and see. But if that is the case, the absolute steals at these prices, and they will inevitably increase in value due to the scarcity of no longer being produced. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the repair. Now, I mentioned earlier this guitar was one of the ones that had to stay behind. I simply didn't have enough room in the car to bring everything with me, but it was left in its case high above the ground, so no water was exposed to this instrument. When I got back, the action on it was really, really off, which is a first warning flag of, yeah, something definitely needs to be addressed on this guitar. As I took a closer look, I noticed on the treble side of the instrument on the fretboard that it was kind of twisting, not fully twisted, but leaning more towards inwards. So the action being off was definitely due to part of that. I kind of panicked a little bit because I can do a lot of electrical repairs. I can do great setups and stuff like that on guitars that I'm really familiar with. But when it comes to things like this, I am a complete idiot and I don't know really much to do outside of just pray eventually that it'll go back to normal once I put it back into its regular humidified environment. But I called up one of my favorite technicians in the whole world, if not my favorite, in San Diego, California. He gave me some advice to help this guitar, and that may also potentially help you in the case that this guitar, or your guitar, if something like this does happen to you, was not actually soaked in water. If this was soaked in water, we'd be having a much different conversation, and I highly doubt I would have been able to salvage this to get it to playing shape that I've been able to do so since. So the first thing he told me to do here was see if I had any silica packs. Had plenty of those. I buy and sell lots of guitars. That was easy to come by. He asked me if this guitar had a hard shell case. This is a big thing here. It does. Thank God it does, because first thing he said to do was take the guitar out of the case. Now, take a hair dryer. 10 to 15 minutes periodically, heat up the inside of the actual case itself so none of that is directly touching the guitar, then putting the guitar in back that way. That will help dry some of it out along with the silica packs. It actually made a lot of sense. I saw some people saying, why not just use a blow dryer or put a cloth in between or a blanket and use an iron on the guitar? That seemed absolutely crazy. If you're somebody who's going to do something like that, I mean, God help you, good luck. I don't recommend doing either of those two things. But the third and final thing he said was just adjust the truss rod and put in the small little dehumidifier that I had in this closet that this guitar was initially in when the problem happened, so that it wouldn't necessarily alter the other guitars, because I didn't want to dehumidify anything else that was not damaged and was still in really good shape. I did those things, and every day I would kind of check on it a little bit more. And important thing to note here, when you are doing the truss rod adjustments on this and you do think that there is a potential twist in the neck, I would recommend loosening the strings a little bit before you adjust the truss rod, because it could actually exacerbate the problem should you not do that step. But after all that was said and done, it's been how many days now? 6, 7 days, and the guitar is actually pretty good. It's not perfect, but at the end of the day, it's playable. I'm sitting here, I'm able to enjoy it. I'm going to continue trying to get this thing back to 100% shape, but even if I can't get it there, the fact that this guitar was unplayable due to the action on it, and I thought the worst, I was again super lucky when it came to the actual neck itself. I do have the action compensated a little bit higher for the treble side at the bridge here to make up for some of that, but it is what it is. The guitar works. I don't have a whole ton to complain about. Very fortunate. And that has been the theme of everything that has happened in all this terrible natural disaster. My family and myself made out so well. compared to everybody else. And well, not just everybody else, but a lot of people. I've seen homes completely destroyed. People lost everything they ever had. And I'm so grateful that we were spared in many senses. A lot of our things are just financial, and hopefully, you always work your way back up to that. And yeah, I'm just very, very grateful that all of this has worked out the way it has. But I guess final things of note, last things I'm going to say when it comes to this specific guitar. I love the neck on it. It says it's a Slim C, and I think they only call it a Slim C because on the traditional Japanese models, they're big old necks. Some of them are modeled after the R7s and R8s, the Gibson line, so they start off almost at full 1, as opposed to the custom shop Telecaster at the first fret, which is a 0.83, 0.1 or just under that, and then beefing up to about 1.1 at the 12th fret. That's very thick. This guitar is more in line with like Les Paul standard 50s in that kind of sense. So it's a very comfortable neck, but it's a very beefy neck. It's a pleasure to play this guitar. I'm very, very happy that it's back in playing shape, and I'm looking forward to playing it more going forward. But I wanted to make a video to document this particular repair because it's not something that happens every day. It's not something that may ever happen to you, but should it, and should you be fortunate enough where no water, again, is actually soaking in the guitar, it potentially could be fixed. Just take your time with it. Again, this has taken days and days of repetition of all of this stuff, and it's a slow process. You don't want to do it like super quickly. You don't want to rush it. You want the wood to gradually go back to where things are supposed to be, or as close to it as you possibly can. Otherwise, again, you could be making more problems for yourself in the long run. However, that's gonna be where we're gonna be wrapping up this video. Really dig this guitar again. If you liked it, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you all that have shown me so much support during all of this, and just trying to keep a smile on my face and trying to, move forward as best as we can. I will see you next time, or on the next live stream, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single Thursday. I haven't missed one of those yet, but I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.